Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. Today we're going to talk about The Flash issue 64, The Price of Justice Part 2. So this is continuing from The Price of Justice Part 1, which took place with Batman, where we found out that Gotham Girl is apparently still crazy. And she's apparently doing something to try to, I guess, bring her brother back, Hank. I didn't know that was possible. I also didn't know Claire was still crazy. But she reveals that she has a benefactor, or at the very least someone who's been pulling her strings, and this person who clearly could either be Mongol or Bane. I'm not entirely sure. It's probably Bane because he's got a chemical in his hand. Then we cut to the Flash Museum, and we sort of get a nice little back and forth with the thought process of Flash and Barry, namely the fact that they both do appreciate each other as detectives on this sort of forensic, crime scene moment here, even to the point where they both think the other is the better detective. And that's interesting. Like, when I always heard about this coming up, whether it was in Darkseid War or the Button storyline, where it's like, yeah, we're the detectives in the league, we're the two best detectives, ignoring Dark Knight's Metal, where Batman calls Hawkman the world's greatest detective, which was stupid. But it was just sort of an interesting moment to see the two of them trying to get back to sort of being friends. And they find out, hey, there's this leaf, it doesn't grow around here. Turns out it's in the Caribbean, so they decide to go down there. And then we get a better look into their thought process, sort of like where they are mentally. Sort of like that idea that it's hard for Flash to be around Batman. The death of Sanctuary, they put a real strain on their team, not being able to solve what happened, not being able to solve the issues there, have made things worse. So it's sort of weird this is all happening within the scope of Heroes in Crisis. And Batman points out that every time he looks at Barry, he sees Wally. And they're both trying their hardest to not think about Heroes in Crisis, not to think about the tragedy at Sanctuary. And it's sort of not working, but they're like, we're doing our best. And then they arrive on the island. Hey, it turns out, even though this island's supposed to be deserted, it isn't. And they have some fun banter about, no duh Sherlock, which is what Barry uses to say, hey, you said that to me once, that means that you're the Watson. And they both see that, hey, they see that the other is trying to really bring back a sense of normalcy, trying to move on, or at the very least not let it affect their teamwork. And then Barry gets a call from Iris, who I think is just his girlfriend. Like, I really wish I could read more Flash, I really do. And she mentions that, she and Barry were supposed to go talk to Wallace, sort of like, they haven't told him what happened to Wally, which is a bit weird. And it turns out Iris is super mad at Batman. I guess Barry told her about Sanctuary, and she hangs up. Barry hangs up before Iris could tell Barry to tell Batman he can go to hell. And one other thing that I almost forgot to mention was that Barry does not know that Selina left Batman at the altar, that they didn't get married. So they're trying to move around, and Batman's like, no, he's trying to tell him, but they want to keep going. And, Flash gets very defensive when it comes to Iris. At the very least, he doesn't want Batman to know that Iris is super mad at him. And then they come to, Claire's room, which seems to be every fan's worst nightmare. It's a shrine dedicated to them, not just Batman and the Flash, but to Superman, Green Lantern, Zatanna, and Robin. Hang on. That's Hawkman in there, and Martian Manhunter, Zatanna. I think a bunch of other people that we saw dying in the background of Heroes in Crisis. Is that Superboy Prime? No, it's not Superboy Prime. That would be crazy. And they're sort of like getting a look at things here, this level of obsession. And Barry compares her to Eobard Thawne. He wanted to be just like Barry. And Batman says, no, Claire wasn't insane like Thawne. She was confused. She didn't become Gotham Girl for attention. And he sort of goes off about this. And he's like, he didn't want Claire to end up in this life. And Barry points out, look, you know better than anyone that you've tried to bench Nightwing or any of the Robins, and they don't listen to you. Because if someone wants to be a hero, they'll become a hero. And this is sort of what leads to Barry sort of breaking down a bit when he remembers, Wally first talking about his own costume. And he points out the idea, like, who made Gotham and Gotham Girl's costumes? And he's like, Wally designed his own costume, but I helped to make it. Did you help? Did you have the Robins with their costumes? Points out that Alfred did. And this is sort of where it all starts to fall apart between the two of them. Someone was there for them, someone helped. Did you ever investigate who helped Gotham and Gotham Girl? And Batman's like, other priorities took his attention, which, to be fair, was the issues of Gotham and Gotham Girl, saving Gotham Girl, dealing with Bane, finding out that he saved him from Gotham Girl. And there was some other stuff going on. Batman was legitimately busy in his story. And Barry sort of uses it to sort of like take a jab. Like, you didn't. For the world's greatest detective, there's a lot of things you don't know. Lots of unsolved cases. And again, he's bringing up Sanctuary. And he points out, Iris is having nightmares about Wally. And we owe our answers that we can't. And then it's interrupted by, thankfully, the plot. And they come in and sort of like there's this sort of lab. It's got Wayne Tech and Mr. Freeze's cryogenics. Some tech that Batman doesn't recognize. And the people in these vats, they're all dead, but they're preserved. And it turns out, like, the chemical compound here that, Barry's able to, reverse engineer it. And it turns out it's a deadly supercharged steroid cocktail. But it has one base compound that started off with it, Venom. And that's when Batman realized, like, okay, we're in trouble. This is the trap. We got to get out of here. But Barry's not in the right. Barry's going to make it personal. Like, no. He poses the question, did Gotham Girl ever go to Sanctuary? And Batman, he doesn't say anything. And he poses another question. You said that you sent her to get help. Did you send her there and she didn't get better? And this poses a question. Has anyone ever been cured at Sanctuary? I mean, you could say, Batman was. Like, is he really? Is Batman ever really cured mentally? And, Diana's confessed. Is she better? Probably not. Superman? Well, there's probably an entire labyrinth down there of problems he's got. So the question is, has Sanctuary worked? And did he send her to Sanctuary? If she went to Sanctuary and she didn't get better, why would he then send people like Wally down? But before they can figure that out, Gotham Girl shows up all kinds of crazy. And she sort of goes on, she's very Superboy Prime in this, not just how competent she is, but the fact, she has this supercharged version of Venom, and she's pointing out that, the heroes have sort of gone off their path, that Bruce didn't help her, Bruce sort of forgot about her, and that she also plans to attack the Central City Police Department later on. And she also reveals that she's got her own little army of Gotham and Gotham Girl, little Gothamlings, we'll call them. And the battle goes on, and Claire goes off, going up and away to deal with Central City Police Department, as Batman and Flash are left to deal with the Gothamlings. So that was Flash issue 64, and how was it? Well, I think it was obvious it was Bane, but the Venom sort of put it over the edge. It's clear that Bane is a major player in Tom King's universe, because he's also the one still contacting Gotham Girl in Tom King's own run, as well as other players. The real meat of this, I think, is definitely the back and forth between Batman and Flash. The idea that, Heroes in Crisis or the events of Sanctuary are still there. And this does feel a bit like the events of Infinite Crisis, where the Justice League was fractured and broken and no one could trust each other. And it would be interesting to see that again, I guess, as the League sort of having a falling out and coming back together, which could have been a really great premise for a Justice League movie, live action, but whatever. With that in mind, let's bring this video to a close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos on this channel. It really helps, and I will catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank. Thanks for watching, and may your fandom serve you well.